Okay, welcome. This is the OVHL Podcast. It's going to be on the OVHL YouTube channel, obviously. Make sure you subscribe. Throw us a like. Obviously, we're trying to grow, and we've actually grown a lot, as many of you noticed. Currently at 32 full teams, with a lot of the owners being very experienced, and then the other ones, obviously, we trust them. We actually have a waiting list right now that is growing pretty steadily, and we have probably 6 people on there right now. In the last week to 10 days, we've had over 400 signups, which is crazy. So make sure you keep promoting. You got to promote. The more you guys promote, the more fun the league will be for everybody. Obviously, we're doing a lot on our end, but anything you guys can do is of a great great appreciation. So just a couple things that we want to go and get out of the way right now is just some spring cleaning. So let's just talk about game times. I know everybody's been asking when the official announcement for game times is going to be. So we've been kind of sort of deliberating a lot on it, because the current game times are 9:30 and 10:30, and those are working for the people that were here beforehand. But obviously, as a lot of you know, we're all part of the league community. We all play in our favorite leagues, and among those, a lot of them is LG. LG is a huge league. Everybody likes them, and obviously I like them too. CHEL plays in them.
Yep.
Everybody plays in them, and it's nothing about anything against them or anything. It's just we want to make sure that we give our players the opportunity to play here and also play there. I don't want to make them choose between their favorite leagues. Let me minimize OBS for you guys so that way you're not seeing an inception of my screen. Now, with that being 9:30 and 10:30 in the past, like with the tournament and everything, we've dealt with availability issues as well, because of LG and a lot of other leagues. Like obviously, there's a lot of leagues coming out right now. So you have a lot of threes leagues that are popping up right now. You have a lot of even some sixes leagues that probably a lot of you are part of.
There's hockey team leagues too. A lot of those are growing, I've noticed.
Yeah, 100%. So, with that being the case, a big goal of ours is to kind of alleviate as much stress as possible from our owners, so that way, you guys want to come back. Because yes, we put a lot of work into it. Obviously, I put a ton of work into this, but at the same time, without you guys being here, there really isn't this much success. Before a lot of you were here, we were at probably 12 to 16 teams is what we're going to probably sit at, which is a good number. Don't get me wrong. Like a lot of places are not at that. But we want to alleviate as much stress, and part of that stress is making sure you have players and you're not like chasing down players. And to do that, we have to pick a time that is best for as many people as possible. And we think right now that time is going to be 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to get out of the way of LG. It's going to allow you guys to play, in the leagues you want to and not have to worry about it. So it takes that stress off of you. And it's also going to, for us, alleviate that issue of availability. It's going to make it less stressful for our owners, and it's going to make less owners, question if they want to own again. Because obviously, if we want to have a good league, we need to sustain the success we're having, not just have one good season. And again, any suggestions you guys have, throw them my way. So we're thinking 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern. That's pretty much the official game time at this point. That also allows for 10 p.m., which is not too late for reschedules or extra games. So just to address games for the scheduling, CHEL's working on the scheduling. I don't know if you guys have heard about what the actual real NHL is doing when Seattle comes in.
It's in the talks, not officially 84 specifically. They are expanding the game number.
Yeah, so for scheduling purposes, the NHL is in talks to expand the game time, or game numbers, to 84 instead of 82, which is, we're going to go ahead and do that for this league. Obviously, the real NHL has to think their stuff through a little bit more, but we're going to go ahead and make it 84, because it makes it a lot easier. Because what was happening if it wasn't 84 was we would have to pick teams that would never play. So there would be like some teams that you would never play. So say Washington versus Arizona may never happen. But there would have to not only be one team that you never played, there would have to be two, and that had to be two for everybody. And it just makes it a huge headache to schedule. And, also you want to be able to play everybody because it's fun. So we're going to do 84 games. Along with that, obviously, what we're going to do is there's going to be certain nights where there's going to be 3 games. That way we don't have to add extra days onto the end of the season. So there'll be certain days that have 3 games. And what 8 and 9 allows us to do, instead of already being later like 9:30 and 10:30 is, and then our third game would put you at like 11 or 11:30. What this allows us to do is now hold these third games at 10 p.m., which is not too late for most people. Do you have anything to add to that, Bryce?
Yeah, just for the end of the season, like for week 8, we're trying to keep it off at week 8. So obviously, if we have 4 extra games, having 10 games a week puts you at 8 weeks. So 4 extra games, it's randomized for the scheduling, so it could even fall that you face the same team twice that night. If it's a divisional team, you play them more than the others during the season. So it essentially could be you play your 8. Then you play the same team at 9 and 10. You could play them back-to-back if you're comfortable with it. You could play 9, have a 10-minute intermission, play at 10. Just whatever works with the owners. But I tried very hard to work around the 82-game season. I tried very hard, and I looked it up a couple of times with what the NHL was going to do and what they're going to incorporate with their schedule. And there was talks about expanding because of the fact that playing your own division 4 times, playing the opposing division in the same conference 3 times, and playing the rest of the other conference, the opposing one, twice, fit 82 exactly. Incorporating another team moves that up by 2 games, and just working around it was impossible with making it even and everyone playing everyone the same amount of times and playing your own division more. We had to incorporate 2 extra games or it wasn't going to be even. It wasn't going to work out. So that's where we're at now with the schedule.
Yeah. And then a website update. Hold on, let me turn my audio down so I'm not clipping. I probably was clipping a little bit, so that should be fixed for the rest of the recording. If it wasn't. So a little website update. So I had to actually contact my server hosting company, the company I do server hosting with, because I was hitting a couple memory limit issues. And anybody that knows anything about web design, that can crash your website. And basically I wasn't being able to do everything I wanted to do because I was hitting memory limit, and what was happening is the website was crashing. I was getting internal server error, so I couldn't reach the admin side. You couldn't reach the user side, nothing. I actually had to go into my server hosting, and I had to delete a bunch of files. I had to back up the website and then start deleting files just to make space, so that way the website would load again. So I finally figured out what was the issue with it. I contacted the server page hosting, got that fixed, but I did have to, I backed up the website, so I still have everything. Everything's still ready to go. I just need to add a couple things to it, but it did set me back a little bit, like several hours, because I had to reset the website. So yes, I have the backup information, I have everything on there, but I'm kind of also treating this as like a spring cleaning and getting rid of any bloat. So I'm going back in there, I'm adding all the rosters back in and all that kind of stuff. And once all that's done, I want to try one more thing, which is I want to try to get availability on the site for you all. I'm going to have to play around with it, see if I'm going to be able to do it within the time period that I want to. If not, I'll try to get it done by the season. But I want to be able to have it to where players can select their availability on the website, because as a lot of people know that run that have run teams in the past, it's really annoying to have to go into Discord and then be like, hey, who's available today. It can be stressful. And like we said at the beginning of the recording, at the beginning of the podcast, is we want to make this as least stressful as possible, so people want to return. The other possibility is we had a like a Sheets document, like an Excel document, basically, that people could use to submit their availability and then use it. We're going to send copies of those to everybody if we can't get on the website. But obviously, if we can get on the website, it would be a very valuable asset to everybody. It would alleviate a lot of issues. So that's something I'm going to play around with. I'm going to try to get it up. If possible, I'm going to try to get it up tonight. If not possible tonight, I'm going to try to get it up tomorrow. So that way you guys can all get used to it. But there will be its own stats. Some people I know are still kind of behind on that a little bit. So there's going to be its own stats. All you have to do is send us a screenshot. So anybody that hasn't heard yet, the stats are taken care of. All you have to do is send us a screenshot. So there's three screenshots you're going to have to send us. It's going to be box score, so we know what period the goals were scored in. It's going to be, and then 2 player summary shots. So to get the player summary in 2 shots, you have to scroll over a certain amount or whatever. We actually have a video on this YouTube channel showing how to do them. We also have a how to take screenshots section of the Discord channel where you can see, where management can see as well. What's
game
up?
stats as well, right? Shots, time on attack, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, all that. That's what's in player summary. So you want the full player summary. The EA is very confusing with the way they do it, because when you finish the game, you get a player summary that all it has is gamer tags, goals, and assists. That's not what we need. We need you to scroll over to, I think it's called end of game or something, and you have to go to the actual full player summary that has all the full stats. And then what there's going to be channels that only you can see. I'm going to make roles, like grayed out roles, in addition to the owner roles, and it'll be like, the role will be like called Anaheim or Detroit or something like that, and I'll give you that. And what that's going to give you access to is to see these channels that'll be called whatever your team name is, Team X screenshots. So for example, for CHEL, it'll be Toronto screenshots, and all you have to do is go in there, send us the screenshots, and we handle the rest. Everything's taken care of, and that's all we need you guys to do. And rosters will be on there, stats will be on there. We're gonna have top 10 video plays that we do every week, and so we're going to have an email that you guys can send that to when you get cool plays or whatever, and then we're going to have somebody making videos. I already have the guy ready to go. He's going to make videos. I have somebody that's interested in writing power rankings, so we're going to have some media going as well to kind of create some sort of a living, breathing sort of atmosphere to the league, so that way it feels like it's a little fun, because there's a lot of leagues out there where literally all it is it's just one area, and then you have your teams, and then there's really no lifeblood to it. It's just like you show up for your games. It doesn't feel like it has any depth to it. So we're trying to alleviate that. We're trying to rectify that and add a little bit more life to the league. So that's kind of the update on that. I think that's about it for spring clean. Well, okay, one more thing, just in case there's any confusion. We did the draft lottery today on Instagram. First of all, make sure you follow the Instagram. The Instagram is OVHL_6, then S. So OVHL_6s. Okay, but the letter 6 and S. We're going to be doing some posts on there. We're probably going to be doing more live streams on there. And obviously that's where we did the draft lottery today. Anybody that doesn't know, the draft lottery is posted in the Discord, and it will also be posted on the website once it goes live. It's posted in the Discord right now under the What's New section. And it will be a snake draft. So, for example, Ottawa has the first pick. They will have the last pick of the second round and the first pick of the third round, and etc. So it is a snake draft. I know some people were worried, oh my god, I got this pick, I'm fucked, like whatever. It is a snake draft. That will solve some of those issues, just so everybody's clear on that.
I was actually going to ask you your opinion on that, just to see maybe if some of the viewers would maybe comment their input. But what's your ideal number where you would want to be in the draft? Because I think Toronto being 15th, I'm totally screwed. I would rather want anywhere from 1 to 10 or 20 to 32. Yeah.
I would prefer to be in the personally. I prefer to be in the middle. Here's why: because if you're first, you don't pick till 32 the next round.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like almost 60-some picks that go by, and then if you're last, obviously, yeah, you get the 2 picks in a row, but then you gotta wait all the way again, till like the end of the next, not the end of that round, but the end of the following round. So if you're smack in the middle, dude, you have 15 every round. So you have. So while some people will have their pick, then they'll have to wait 60 and have 2. Then they'll have to, again, wait 60 and have 2. Well, you have one every 30. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
15, and then after 50, I did the math a little bit. After 15, my next number is 50 exactly. So 40 or 15, and then I'm waiting 35 and hitting 50. I'm waiting 15.
That's 25 picks. It's 25 picks later, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like it puts you in a hole.
I don't know, man. I kind of I'd rather have that consistency. I'd rather have that instead of waiting so long between picks. That's just me, personally.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's on what each owner prefers. I'm sure Ottawa's not complaining. Edmonton might be, but being last just means you're first the next round, so it could work in the end. I've picked first before. I have picked dead last also. I did like dead last a little bit more, but the league that we did that I was in at the time, there was only 12 teams. So I was picking 12th and 13th and then 23rd and 24th. So it wasn't or 24th and 25th. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
But having 32 teams definitely does kind of change your opinion on where you pick. Like a buddy of mine, Griffin, who's owning Colorado, me and him together have played together for a while. He does know a lot of big names and a lot of good guys that like playing with him. And in order to pick them up, he's picking 16th, which means he's also picking in the next round 51st. So that's where it could potentially bite you in the draft.
Yeah, but 51st, I mean, how many away from 16 that is? That's 35 away?
Yeah. That's a lot of names, man. 35's a lot.
I mean, 35, yeah, but think about, think about being first. You take the first overall pick, but then you got to wait 61 more picks.
You better be right with that first pick because you're not getting one for a while.
I mean, then you get 2 picks after that, but you got like 60 names are going by till you get those next 2 picks. And then another 60 names are going by till you get those 2 picks.
Yeah, that's true. I actually agree with that. They're picking first is even picking 32nd.
Picking first is like probably the worst to me. Just me personally. Like, yes, you get like first dibs whenever you want, but like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's worth it really.
What if you got like a buddy? It's like, yeah, man, like he's like really good right.
Well, then you're also putting this. You cut out a little bit, but then you're also putting this. You're put in this situation where if you're planning on like you're planning on picking up like a certain guy. Well, now you have to consider, hey, maybe he's not in theory worth a first overall pick, but I might have to take him first overall because if not, like I gotta like somehow hope he like passes by 60 other people doesn't get picked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty true. Like at least being 15th, like I got because I've been around. I know a couple guys, and if I know who like my first guy who I need to take is like whether it's a big defenseman, a big goal scorer, a strong back check center, even a goaltender, if I know who I want and then let's say they're the wingers, other like if I go to pick a right wing first and then their center or their left wing that's going to play with them is high up there, like I'm better off being 15th than I am first because if they're up there and people know them, I have more of a chance they're going to get taken in 60 than they're going to get taken in 35.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying there.
By the way, shout out to Dirty Jers. Dirty Jers came in, helped run Washington for this past OVHL tournament. They actually did win that tournament. I want to give an honorable mention to Flakes' team. Flakes did a pretty good job constructing that team. I think I don't remember what they finished the tournament as off the top of my head, but they were 11-1 at one point. So he definitely put together a good team. So thanks for everybody that stuck around with that, and everybody that's helped us sort of get in this league. Let's get a little bit more in depth with this draft order, because right now we're talking like, hey, where's it good to be? Let's talk about like where some of the places are. I was really surprised. Well, I mean, I guess not surprised. It is a lottery, but Tanaka AT43, number 7. I mean,
that's a
killer pick
for that guy, man. Like
that's a killer pick.
He's well known. Yeah, he knows a lot of guys. He knows a lot of skilled guys, but everyone knows his guys too, right? Like I've been watching, not really watching, but I've known who AT has. I've known who he is and how he's played for a while. I've played against him in leagues. I've played with him for teams. He has a monster. He knows a lot of high skilled players. He knows a lot of good D-men that I wish I got the chance to play with because of how good they are in their own end. But being 7th, it does give the option of the first 6 to take maybe his top pick. But at the same time, like he's pretty early. He's got 25 guys after him that he could potentially sabotage that want one of his guys. So he's sitting pretty at 7.
I mean, 7's definitely a really good number. I mean, I know he's bringing. I'm not sure who he's like kind of thinking about when it comes to drafting.
I know his management. I know his buddy Kavanaugh is his GM, and that guy. He's both of them. Like I don't want to say names. I'm not going to sabotage anything, but I may not know directly who they're going to pick, but I'm sure I got an idea. They know a lot of good players.
Yeah.
And they got some depth with their guys that they've been playing with for a long time. A lot of them are LG NHL guys, LG AHL. Like they're well known in the community and they're good at what they do, playing together. Good chemistry. So
yeah. Now another one that sort of intrigued me. Another one sort of intrigued me was Washington, number 23.
23. See, that's not a bad pick either. That's just
But
like the
that's that's kind of a good pick because like think about where you like where would that be like for the next pick? That would be like
8th, 9th, I think.
I mean it would be like it would be flipped, so it's like 3 and then 20. It'd be like what I think 9th, right?
It'd be
9th the
9th,
next
yeah.
round. Yeah.
That's a good pick.
I mean that's a pretty good pick. And then I mean yeah, you got to wait till the 20th something or whatever after that, so you got to wait like 40 some picks. But I think that's kind of like the sweet spot, like 20. Like 18 to like 22, like 23. That's like the sweet spot for picks, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's where you're going. It may not be directly back to back like Edmonton, but you are pretty close to both picks. So if you see people start another team that's picking right near you, start picking up D-men, you get your one D-man, you want to pick up his D partner right away. You got enough time to snatch him. That you know what I mean? Like when it comes to picking guys that work well together. You pick one D-man, and everyone in the league knows that one right D has a left D that he's got great chemistry with. They're going to try and snatch him. So you kind of have enough time to kind of counter it and take him before. Being first, you don't. Being 32nd, you kind of do. But, so they are sitting pretty, even same as Tanaka. Both of them sitting at good numbers there. And both of them, I think anyone around this league knows they're going to have maybe the top 2 teams, if not 2 of the top 5 in this league. They're going to be the guys to beat looking onward in the season, right?
And just to throw like sort of an not honorable mention, but I guess we should talk about it, is the last pick of the first round, which is going to Edmonton. I find it kind of funny because a lot of you guys weren't here for the tournament. Obviously, we have like way more signups and teams than we had in the tournament. But I'm a hockey guy, which is the owner of Edmonton. He was making a joke back in the tournament. He was like, "Oh yeah, we're like when we were doing the tournament draft lottery. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're 100% getting the first pick. We're Edmonton." So I find it kind of funny now to see him get the last pick. But it's also kind of the inverse of that is like he gets the first pick of the second round right after. You know what I'm saying? So
he could work on depth right away with that pick.
100%, yeah.
So like, what would you're saying? One, in your opinion, one would be the worst number to get. Absolutely. That's one, as your opinion, you would not want it.
For 32?
Yeah.
If I had to take 32, if the options were 32 or first, I'm taking 32.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
That's just in my opinion.
It depends. I guess it depends who you are, because like if you're a new play LG, or you haven't in year, you only played CHL. Not that there's anything bad with it, but like you didn't play with the guys that are going to be not running, but doing very well in this league.
Yeah.
You don't really worry about where you pick, because your guys you're drafting or wanting to draft, or majority of the guys are going to be your friends or guys that hit you up in your DMs like, "Hey, you scouting today, right?" Not like Tanaka, who knows a lot of guys, and myself, who knows a lot of Volcom. Like those guys, they know a lot of people, right? So that's where they want. If you're high up there, you would want one of the top 10 picks to kind of get your team going without someone getting stolen. Because guys like Shut the Gate, like those guys, he went first overall in LG NHL. Like those guys are going to go very fast. They're going to go very fast. So it all depends, I guess, on where you're at, where your knowledge of gamer tags and people, how they play, and how long they've been around this kind of stuff for, right? So
yeah, exactly. Is there anything that really like pops out to you on the list?
Draft pick trading, like it was mentioned.
So draft pick trading has been mentioned here. Okay. All right, so here's the thing with draft pick trading. If it's something that everybody wants, we can consider it. But it was never in my okay, when it comes to like me and my manager, it was never really in our consideration. It was never something that ever really even came up in
never really even
it never even was really even talked about. And the reason I say that is because draft pick trading, to me personally, really only works once there is some history and some legacy to the team. Because right now it's like, what's the value of the first overall pick, right? Like you have the first overall pick, yeah, exactly. Like the value's crazy, but they didn't. The person that has the first overall pick didn't do anything to get the first overall pick except be randomly selected. They weren't the worst team. Like they weren't the worst team of the season or whatever. They just got lucky. So when it's like that. It's sort of like, okay, well now somebody could come and and then it creates all these other issues, right? So how are draft pick trading is going to be allowed? Because obviously there aren't. If you have secures, I mean, what are you going to do? Trade a secure, then you can just secure somebody else. And then the other thing is, we can't let you trade. I don't want to say we can't let you, but it would be really something we'd really have to think about when it comes to letting you trade draft picks, because it would be like, okay, are you going to trade your 11th, 10th, and 9th, and 7th overall draft pick to somebody? Okay, well, then it becomes, are you going to have enough players to fill the roster? And then can they even use the draft picks, because they're going to hit roster limit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's too many variables really there for that to be something that makes sense. It would have to be some kind of like swap. It would have to be. It would almost have to be like. It really doesn't. It really doesn't work. I just don't see any way to make it work.
Yeah,
It works if you have like 2 season contracts, or if you have multiple season you're like, hey, I'm going to trade this person for you, or it works in that sense. But there's just too many variables, and there's not enough history and legacy. There's nothing to really trade. And why swap draft picks with somebody?
Yeah.
Other than that reason.
Yeah, when it was mentioned, I was kind of like, I didn't think it was a terrible idea, but it was kind of just working the way around it. I don't think, in my opinion, we could work around it. I don't think it's the right time, because when it comes to contracts and stuff, and especially like a conversation I want to get into next is the salary cap hit of your secure or secures, the draft order. Like if you're going in the first round, you should, in my opinion, have a bigger cap hit than someone in the 11th round,
right?
Or 8th, whatever. So that you'd have to incorporate kind of what your worth is, and being a secure. That's where we pick if the secures are a bigger cap hit than the first overall, because technically they are picked before that player.
Yeah.
How much more? Like $1 million, $500,000. You know what I mean? Like you have to really work around it and be very precise with it, because the numbers could end up biting you when it comes down to picking your salary cap, exact number you want to use, what round is worth what rounds are worth the same, like fourth and fifth, for example. I've seen certain leagues, fourth or fifth.
Yeah. Then it comes like, not only are they going to have the roster space, but are they going to have the cap space? Because I've been talking, like obviously I've talked to a few owners, people that are probably going to listen to this, as you know. We're finalizing the details on how we want to determine salaries, and we have a few options of those, and one of the options being the placement in which the person is drafted. So if somebody's drafted in the top 10, maybe they're worth this amount. If they're drafted in the next 10, so 10 to 20, maybe they're worth this amount. And then the last 10 of the first round, maybe they're worth this amount. Then you have the second round is worth this amount, third round is worth this amount. So not only does it become, are they going to have enough roster spots, it also becomes, are they going to then have the cap space? Because if they trade for, if they trade for like a top 10 pick, and a top 10 pick, like this is just like an example or whatever, but say top 10 picks like $10 million or $12 million or something.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big cap hit, and you know what I mean. Like, so if we end up, it's to me, there's too many variables. It's something I would love to do. Obviously, I want to get as close to a real simulation as possible. It's something I would absolutely love to do. It's just, I also want it to feel organized. I don't want it to feel messy.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's one of those things. Like once we're there, we're there. I don't know if we're there yet. I don't know if we have the legacy yet to be able to do that properly.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's still an option though. If you have like a really cool suggestion, a way we haven't talked this, like if you're screaming at your screen right now, I know you don't have to do any of those. You could just do it this way. Throw me a PM on Discord, or throw me a PM on Xbox. Let me know your idea. If it's a really cool idea, we might do it.
Yeah.
I'm not like omnipotent. I don't know everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's actually a topic I wanted to get into was we're kind of starting to touch the draft topic for trade topic for deadline, and for if we are maybe thinking or talking about doing a limit of trades per week, trades per season. You know what I mean? Like kind of look into that kind of depth of where the cutoff are for trades, not just the deadline itself, but if we.
So in the real NHL, obviously, when the trade deadline happens in like February, is that what you're talking about? You're talking about trade deadline?
Yeah, the deadline in the real NHL is about 60 games.
Yeah, the deadline's about 60 games in the real NHL. Obviously, because the way the NHL works, it's not standardized days that you're playing. Obviously, you're not playing 2 games a night in the NHL. So, essentially what it is, it might be anywhere from 55 to the lowest amount of games all the way up to 63 for the highest amount of games. So it's basically around 60 games is when the trade deadline is. So that's pretty much what we're going to do. So obviously we were talking earlier in the podcast about doing 84 games and all that stuff. So that would make the regular season about 8 weeks long.
Yeah.
So at the end of the 6th week would be the trade deadline, and that would be the Saturday following the Thursday. That is, so every week is Sunday through Thursday, right? So then you'd have Friday and Saturday before week 7 started, and then midnight 7 is the cutoff for trades. Like that's when trade deadlines close. Now that's your roster for the rest of the season and your roster for the playoffs.
Basically, the midnight right before week 7.
Yeah, right before week 7 starts, which would be that Sunday.
Yeah. This is just a conversation to talk about, nothing confirmed. But like, what do you think about weekly limit for trading? Like, kind of, do we just let guys roam free and trade as many times as they want during the week during the season, or do we say minimum of like a certain X amount of number of trades a week? What's your opinion?
See, so me personally. This is something obviously we could talk about and we could consider. For my personal taste would not be to limit things like that, only because to me, as much interaction as possible, the better. Like because that to me is entertaining. Like having the interaction of trades and having the interaction of waiver and having all this interaction is what like makes the league. It makes it fun. It's like when you're playing franchise mode, but it's like with real people and everything like that. Having the ability to do that's kind of fun. Weekly limit for trading for me would kind of kill the fun a little bit, and it would be like more restrictive. Like, you know what I mean? Like especially trade deadline week comes up and you're trying to like really like sort of like finalize your team. You know, maybe you're moving guys in and out. Like maybe you trade for one guy and then you want to maybe do like a 3-way trade, but you're like approaching trade.
I was literally typing that to you. That was my next question on a different topic.
like 3-way trades.
Yeah. What's they're not tricky to get through, but like it is kind of obviously when it comes down to trades, a lot of 3-way trades, especially in the real NHL, there's something you can retain salary cap. That is something about the 3-way trades I want to talk about because obviously I don't know if we are, but stopping 3-way trades is not a bad allowing 3-way trades is not a bad thing. But when it comes down to people saying, well, I'll just retain $2 million of this guy's salary cap, how do you feel about that? Like, so I've seen it happen in leagues, like leagues I used to play in did it all the time, where people will say, yeah, I'll send this guy to Arizona. Arizona's going to send this guy to Buffalo, and Buffalo's going to send this guy to Toronto.
I think it's unfair unless okay, to me, okay, again, I want to preface this. If somebody has a great idea, come to me. If somebody like has like a different perspective, come to me. Let me know. The way I sort of look at that though is like it can be almost unfair because there's no legacy between the teams, because we don't know who's returning or who's not returning, or if there's going to be multiple season contracts. It's like, and then what does trading cap really mean? It doesn't mean it doesn't have any implications.
Yeah.
Like if you were trading like a multi-seasonal guy. So let's say a guy was on like a 2 or 3 season contract, and the guy was like a franchise player. He was like a 15 mil player or some shit, whatever.
Elite player,
yeah, just like, and then you're like, man, I really want to give you these 3 guys. Like I really want to like, give you these guys for this guy. If you're trying to, if you're looking to move him or whatever,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that salary, he's still got 2 seasons left on his contract after this. I don't know if I can eat that salary. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, whatever, I'll retain like $3 million or whatever. But again, that's something that has to do with once there's really consistency, and there's people returning, and there's just the same teams at least there, and other people are taking over. Then that consistency is kind of nice. But right, and obviously that simulation of real life is awesome. But until that is fully fleshed out, I don't think that is actually the best thing to do. In my opinion.
Yeah, I was just going for opinion there, and I completely agree with you there. It stirs the pot a little more. It puts more confusion in with numbers, and people could potentially, like, let's say it's a new season, then the top scorer from last season goes first overall, and then like it could come down to I want to play with my buddy, so it's like, okay, well, I'll trade you here if they give me these guys, and then you, let's say, take and pay some of their salary cap and let it hit your roster instead of where you're trading them to. That just stacks the other team for less money than it's supposed to, which gives the other team more room to stack their team more, and it could eventually be a shit show, which is also why a lot of leagues don't do bring your own team anymore, because it could potentially hurt the competitiveness of the league, and kind of what's going on and what the fun is, because no team wants to lose to Pittsburgh, for example, 5 times out of the season because they have like a ridiculous lineup, or they have the top 2 guys from the last pick, but half their retirees retained just because they want to be on the same team. So it does hurt the competitiveness of the league. So I completely understand where you would disagree with that, and I completely agree.
Right. Okay. Anything else you wanted to touch on that, or anything else you think people were wondering?
Yeah, there was actually a question I had for another opinion-wise, because this is going to be something we're gonna have to face during the season, is with the state of the game and how not necessarily all the tuners, but with people skating to the goalie, like, are all goalie interference calls, if they're not called in the game, are we letting EA Sports NHL 19 call those calls, or are we going to review them ourselves? Because a lot of people, I've been in leagues where I think it was better to let the game take it. If they call it, they call it. If they don't, because it does cause a lot of controversy and a lot of quote unquote like biased beliefs. People will think, well, like, not really a commissioner, but like someone who's helping the league out, stats manager, whatever. Yeah. He's on that team, so they're gonna go with him. They're gonna side with him, which is
right.
As much as
again, like, yeah, there's any amount of conflict of interest there always like provides questions.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you are or not. Are you familiar with the whole like goalie interference like epidemic in the real NHL last year?
In the real NHL?
Yeah.
I watch hockey all the time. I follow it a lot, but I don't.
So last year there was like a huge epidemic about goalie interference calls. It was just like people were asking for consistency. Nobody knew what the fuck goalie interference even meant.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And the big reason was because it was such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
I don't think bringing the and here's the thing. In the real NHL, what can they do? They could do live review in the game, and the game keeps getting played.
Yep.
What would we have to do? We can't do live reviewing while they're in the game.
No, yeah, it would have to be after the game.
They would have to back out of the game. We would have to look at it. Then they'd have to, they obviously have to finish the game, and then we'd have to look at it. Then if, like, we'd have to say, oh, no, you have to reschedule because of that one goal, like, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if the person won by, like, 7-2 or something, and, they'd be like, okay, well, you don't get that 7th goal because of this or whatever. I just feel like there's too much subjective opinion there to really try to handle it. I've seen leagues try to do, like goal review and things like that, and I just don't think it works out. I just don't think it works out. And the reason I don't think it works out is I think another thing. So we're talking about, obviously, LG. Everybody loves LG. Like, and I'll say on the LG team, you know what I like about LG the most, and a lot of people do? How fast the games go. Games start on time. Games finish on time. If we have to sit there and get, like, I want as least reason as possible that somebody has to back out of a game or somebody has to do whatever in the middle of a game, because I want to get these games over as quick as possible. Like, people like playing the game and stuff, but people aren't trying to like have a drawn out like annoying experience where a game's taking like 45 minutes, they're trying to rush to their next league game or whatever. Like, let's just get in there, let it get done. Yes, the game has some bullshit. Obviously, the game has some bullshit. It's always going to have some bullshit. That's just how games are. Any game has, I know everybody's like, oh, EA sucks. A game I really like, Rainbow Six Siege, has a ton of bullshit. So, so I really think, hey, yes, I know it could be really annoying when you run straight into a goaltender and the goal, like, just goes in. But at the end of the day, it's better just let the game run its course. Just laugh at the game, because it's just going to make it more stressful for everybody in the situation if we have to sit there and constantly review these calls, or constantly make these subjective opinion calls, and it's gonna piss more people off than it's gonna help. It's a cool sort of gimmick, but at the end of the day, I don't think it helps anything. I don't think it adds anything.
It's a crowd pleaser until it puts a team in a shitty situation.
It's a crowd pleaser until it actually happens, and guess who gets mad? The other team.
Yeah.
That got a call against them or whatever.
And that shit can hurt a lot. Like if you were in a game and the tying goal was the questionable goal, so you're up 3-2 and they score one that should be 100% interference. The game did not call it. It goes to the league, and the league says no, it looks clean. That 1 point you're missing going into overtime with the potential 2 points of winning in overtime could not get a playoff spot. It could keep another in a playoff spot. It could change the playoff spot format, who you're going to play in the playoffs. So it potentially could change the entire lineup of everything. Who, like, one, and for example, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, if it changes inside the actual playoff, the playoff format, that could change a lot. Like who plays who. Maybe this team second place would have beat this team, you know what I mean? Like it changes absolutely everything, and it could screw a lot of stuff up, a lot of opinions, and it could be a lot of problems in our hands and team owners' hands with a lot of problems, a lot of arguing, and just questionable gameplay there.
Right.
So I think we kind of leave it to the game itself and let it take its course, because we are not the game makers, so we are not the ones to blame. If the game leaves it, the game leaves it. Shouldn't be argued. It can be pissed. You can be pissed off about it. Like fuck. Like I get guys that I get slashed and shit. And it's not called. And like I'm down by 1 with 5 minutes left. It's like
absolutely.
A power play goal or a bad goal that goes in the net, a delay a game, that's whatever. Like it can change a lot, but we are not the ones that turn for that. So we just basically let it go and see what happens with that, and kind of just pray that EA does right for once in the last 20 something years they've been making games. So.
So let's transition a little bit. Well, first of all, did you have anything else to add there? Should we talk about anything else, or do you think we've kind of sort of covered a little bit?
No, I think.
Obviously, don't want to go through every 32 picks. We don't necessarily have to do all that. I mean, we talked about the highlights. Seattle got number 3.
The Kraken.
Yeah,
that's gonna be interesting. I like to see how they do. Just kind of being an expansion team, kind of what their creative style is going to be with their jerseys and stuff, their arena, maybe mascot, it's going to be interesting.
Right.
Be wild, yeah.
I think that's about it for that. What time are we running right now? Let's check the time. We've been recording for about 42 minutes. So let's touch on some real NHL stuff. Let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah. So here's my question for you. So Ovechkin's at 49 goals right now.
Oh.
You think he's gonna hit 50, or you think it's gonna be like last year where he just gets kind of shafted a little bit? They're up there. They're winning 4-1 against Tampa right now. He could get a goal in this game.
He doesn't have his 50th right now.
He doesn't have the 50th in this goal. There's 2 goals by Backstrom and 2 goals by Oshie in the game right now.
I'd like to see it be a 6-1 game and Ovi banking just to hit. I want to see him.
How good would it be though? Like Ovi gets his 50th goal against Tampa when they had to beat Tampa to get to the Cup last year.
Yeah, and those are I wouldn't say Washington's a real big team to watch this year. Like, they obviously are because of the Cup defenders, but, like, Tampa is the team to beat when it comes down.
Yeah, but Tampa, how many years in a row has Tampa been the team to beat? And how many years in a row have they fucking choked?
Never like this. They've never had a team like they've had the
same... they have 122 points.
Yeah, that's not a lot. I think I've seen an NHL team have that in a while. I think I've seen close. I think the last one that the most was Pittsburgh 116 a couple years ago. That's the highest I've seen. Tampa's playing their 78th game tonight, I believe. 4 games left after tonight. Doesn't look like they're going to beat Washington tonight. So
they had 113 points last season. They were 54, 23, and 5, and 82.
What are they right now? They're like 58.
Right now they're 59, 14, and 4.
Yeah, see, that's ridiculous.
This is their 78th game that they're playing right now.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I don't know. I think they're the team to beat every year, but like I don't know.
Well, last year, dude, did anybody pick the Capitals last year? No, everybody picked fucking Tampa, and they're about Tampa, Boston's gonna lose to Tampa. They're gotta get through Tampa. And then what happened? Tampa fucking choked in Game 7. Like, nobody showed up. Like, Tampa is the new Washington.
Yeah, That's the thing. That's where I'm scared because when Washington, like, not last year they won the cup, but the year before that, when they had Shattenkirk, when they had they obviously still have Oshie, but they had all those guys like Shattenkirk.
They had Marcus
Oshie.
Johansson still.
You know, like they were deep, and I said this is the once they picked up Shattenkirk at the deadline, or was it the free agency they signed him?
No, they picked him up from St. Louis at the deadline.
Yeah, I said this is the year Washington has to do it. If they don't do it this year, it's crunch time. Their cap's gonna fill. That's it. They have to trade Shattenkirk, everything. So what happens? They make the playoffs. They're out in the second round to Pittsburgh again, who went on to win the cup again. And Shattenkirk gone. Johansson, I believe, stayed. But they lost a lot of, not big names, but like Shattenkirk's a huge defenseman. The depth they had was potentially gone.
Holy. Sorry, go finish your thought. I just noticed something that's crazy. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, just they're kind of like their depth was kind of diminishing. It was kind of falling apart because the year they threw everything together, they still once again only made it to the second round and once again got beat by Pittsburgh, who for the third time that year won the cup. So I thought that was it. Just like everyone's saying with Tampa, this year is the year they have to do it or out. And I said that about Washington last year or the year before last.
The thing is, have you ever noticed the people that are always like touted as the people that are like should win never win? Like, I think there's something to that. Like, yeah. I think Washington just did better when they didn't have the pressure on them, man. Like,
I think I can give you 4 examples. 2 of them are the same. Sorry, 5 examples. 2 of them are the same teams that deserved to win the cup every single time they touched the playoffs. That was Chicago. For the last 2 cups they won, they destroyed everything in their path. With Kane's crazy short side shot that no one even knew was in the net. I don't know if you remember that. I think that was a Game 7 overtime goal. And then Pittsburgh winning both in Boston, who completely destroyed Vancouver in the finals that year. They deserved it from the get-go. I was a little bit younger at the time. I was more watching the Leafs like I've always have been. But you knew once they touched the ice when the playoffs started, the depth, the grit, the bodies they had, the size, like they were going to do it. They were young, and then they were older when it came to grit, so they knew the guys they had that had the grittiness were the big dudes with the experience, like Chara and David Krejci. If you look at Pittsburgh, they had Ryan Reeves. Like, they had a lot of guys kind of had the experience of the big dogs who can throw the body around, while having guys like, for example, Pittsburgh, Jake Gensel, Hornquist, Crosby, who's a stud. The guy's a fucking absolute retarded hockey player. He's one of the best to ever play the game. And then, yeah, like, I knew every year those guys were going to win, but nowadays, like, no one thought Washington was going to win last year.
Yeah, but nobody thought Pittsburgh was going to win their second in a row. Like, there are some people who are like, oh, it'd be cool to see, but nobody thought it was going to happen. Everybody thought they were going to lose to who?
Tampa.
But then Tampa didn't even get there. The Tampa missed the playoffs that year, I think, right?
Is that the year you're talking about? The Tampa missed playoffs 1 year. That was the year that Toronto's first year making the playoffs, because I remember Toronto beating Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was a year that they first won the cup. Yeah, when Pittsburgh won their first, and they got past Ottawa, right?
Yeah, that was the year that Tampa did not make it.
Yeah, and then the next year, who did they play in the finals the next year? Pittsburgh. They had to play Tampa in the finals, right? The conference finals. The conference finals, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, everybody picked Tampa to win that one, didn't they? Like,
yep. Because everyone knows, like, the thing is, Pittsburgh is such a highly loved team and a highly watched team that everyone is expecting them to win. So I think out of the gut feeling, they go for the underdog every year. Like, yeah, this is the year they can do it. Kind of like an impulsive opinion, where it's not always going to be right. Like, yeah, I would love to see Stammer, because he's from a roundabout area where I'm from, just outside of Toronto. I would love to see that guy hold a cup over his head. Like, I would love to see it, but I don't. Like, everyone thinks they're going to be the guys to beat, and at the same time, I really want to cheer for them, but I don't think they're going to do it. I also don't think Pittsburgh's going to make it out of the first round this year. I'll go into deeper.
You don't think Pittsburgh's going to make it out of the first round?
No. You want to talk? We can talk about that now if you want. No, I do not.
Dude, I thought they were. Dude, I think they're an underdog to win the cup this year.
You think the Pens are an underdog to?
Dude, absolutely, dude.
I'm not saying this.
Their goal differential is 31. It's higher than Washington's. It's higher than New York's, which is who they're playing.
Yeah, but it's not always about the differential. Look at the Dubs.
Yeah, they have 42. They're 42, 25, and 11. They
have less wins than the quote-unquote biggest joke in the NHL. My Toronto Maple Leafs. Biggest joke.
Dude, who said they're the biggest joke in the NHL? What?
Well, right now they're playing like it. They're losing to Ottawa by 2. But no, everyone talks about Toronto like the biggest joke, man. Toronto just choke a lot of shit, but when it comes down to
my God, that's because Toronto. That's because Toronto's overexposed, dude. Relax. Like, why are you taking so much offense to that? It's always Toronto fans. They're like Toronto's blah. Toronto's just overexposed, dude. That's all it is. Like,
I'm just saying this year with the team, not Toronto, but Pittsburgh has, and the teams that everyone else has. The reason why I don't see them coming out of the first round is because they're gonna. Right now they're sitting.
Yeah, but they're playing the Islanders.
Potentially, unless Carolina's only 2 points back, and they have more wins.
Carolina is no. Okay, yeah, Carolina has 93 points.
Honestly, I would love to see Montreal go on a ridiculous streak, win their next 5 or 4, I guess. Win the next 4, catch Toronto, put Toronto against Washington, and then have Montreal play Boston. Because as a Leaf fan,
Toronto, dude, Washington is gonna beat Toronto if Toronto matches up with Washington. I'm just telling you that right now.
I think they got a better shot than they do. They play Boston.
I don't think so, dude. You gotta beat Boston. I'm just gonna say that right now. If you want to win anything, you have to beat Boston. Who did Washington have to beat to win the cup? Who'd they have to go through?
The Pens.
They had to go through the Pens, like.
But the year they did, they won the cup. So maybe the year we beat Toronto, Boston.
Yeah. So don't you want to play Boston?
We have to go through though. Like if Toronto was to beat Boston this year, let's say the playoff format is what it is right now. You got
Toronto beats Boston. Columbus is probably going to lose to Tampa Bay because they always choke in the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, Columbus is like poised to do something special. I just have no confidence in them, man. Like they went up 2 games on Washington, and Washington like at that point last year, because I'm a Washington fan. At that point last year, I was like, all right, whatever, dude. Like I'm just gonna be like content at the fact that they're just gonna go out in the first round, just like we get like a decent pick. Yeah, well, like we'll get a decent pick in the draft, like whatever. Like it is what it is. Like the era's over. And then what happened? They like come back like 4 games straight. So who knows? I mean, but. My confidence with Columbus was kind of killed when that happened. And I just think, like, the only way to beat Tampa Bay is to just be extremely physical. And, like, Washington had that, man. Like, Washington was probably the biggest team in last year's playoffs, like, when it comes to physicality.
Yeah. I completely agree. But, like, with what you said about the physicality to beat Tampa, when it comes down to it, when you look at them, like, yeah, there's a lot of teams that could rough them up, that could kill them. A team like the Philadelphia Flyers, who may not be as good.
Yeah, but that's not that. Like you have to have the talent. You have to have the talent, but you have to be able to be physical while still having the talent, which is what Barry Trotz did. Like their roster was talented, right? They had Oshie, they had obviously Ovechkin could throw the body, but then you got Kuznetsov, Backstrom, then you got Carlson that's putting up all these points on D. Which he should have won the Norris. He was fucking robbed. That actually pissed me off. He was absolutely robbed. Absolutely fucking robbed. But they were still able to be physical and shut Tampa down in the important moments or whatever, which I think was a big Barry Trotz thing. The only reason I don't think, and as a fan of Washington, would I love to see them possibly go back to the finals? Yes. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I do think it's possible. But I think it's going to be hard without the coaching of Barry Trotz. Like, there was something special about last year. There's just something about it.
Basically, before we West, I think looking at the East, you can add in whether you agree or disagree and why or why not. But I think the winner of the Toronto-Boston series obviously will play the winner of the Tampa and Columbus series, which is not going to be a series. I think Tampa's going to do it. I think the winner of the Tampa and second-round team that plays Tampa, either Toronto or Boston, the winner of that semifinal is going to go to the Cup final. I don't think Washington can touch Boston with the physicality. I don't think Washington can really, in the different atmosphere of the playoffs.
I don't know, dude. Like what does Boston really have? Like
they got a lot of depth.
I don't know. I just don't see them as a playoff team, man. Like I feel like they can beat Toronto or one of the wild cards, and I think that's like the only person in the playoffs right now they could beat. Maybe the Islanders. But like I don't think they could beat Tampa. I don't think they could beat Pittsburgh. I don't think they could beat Washington.
Oh, I see 2.5 teams. I don't see them beating the half, as in the Maple Leafs, because I'm as much as I am a Leaf fan, I do think Toronto could do it potentially. But the teams I see Boston not beating, if they were to come across them, which they will if they beat Toronto, is Tampa or the Capitals. I think Boston would take Pittsburgh in 6. I think they would almost sweep the Islanders. Carolina and Columbus shouldn't even be in the conversation.
I don't know, man. You got to give it to Barry Trotz. So like people like look at Washington now and they look back and they're like, oh yeah, they had a good team. Nobody last year thought Washington had a good team. The difference maker last year was Barry Trotz's coaching and the fact that Kuznetsov just like, I don't know, just like had like a coming home party or something. I don't know, because he just like Kuznetsov, like Ovechkin. Yes, he won the he won the MVP or whatever. What the fuck do you call it? I don't even remember. The MVP of the playoffs. Too, didn't he win? Yeah, but like I don't know. Like I think Ovechkin. I think Kuznetsov had the most points. I think Kuznetsov was the biggest difference maker in those playoffs. I think without Kuznetsov, they don't win. I mean, how many times have they been eliminated in the second round, have been eliminated in the playoffs? Like period.
Yeah.
And without Kuznetsov, and it's a very similar roster. I think having a second guy, a second superstar that poses the same, like close to the same threat as Ovechkin shooting, but he can also pass at the same time. I think that was a big difference because with Backstrom and Ovechkin on the ice, you knew who was passing to who, you knew who was shooting. With Kuznetsov could pass, but he could also snipe it. And I think that was like the big difference maker for Toronto. I mean, you could say Tavares is a difference maker, but man, like I don't know, dude. Like Tavares, I'm just not impressed. Like yes, he has a lot of goals. He might hit 50 goals, but like
45, 46, something like that. Yeah.
What's up?
He's got Tavares. He's got like 45 goals, man.
He's got 45 goals, but like I'm just not. I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know. Like it just feels like he doesn't. Do you really think he's gonna be the difference maker in a playoff series though? Like that's my thing.
No. Their defense. If they get when it comes down to Toronto.
Well, and also their guys have to show up, man. Like Matthews, like what? Alex Ovechkin is a point per game per playoffs in the playoffs, but people always said he didn't produce. But like, the problem wasn't him producing. It was the problem he wasn't producing when they really needed him to produce. Once Ovechkin got consistent in the playoffs, and so did Kuznetsov, and I think that was the other thing. Like people were like putting a lot of coverage on Ovechkin. And now they had to cover Kuznetsov as well from the shot. That opened things up. I mean, you could argue now they got to cover Tavares instead of just Matthews. But until I actually see that, I don't know. Because they got to be able to adjust to that. Matthews has to have consistent production. Tavares has to have consistent production. Neither of them have had consistent production in their playoff matches. When the team needs it. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree with you. That's kind of like with Toronto, with not so much this year, but with Toronto's first year, the year they drafted Matthews, they went from 30th to a playoff spot. Given it was one of the last wild card spots, but it still was a playoff spot, and it did make a difference playing Washington. That's where I see the Islanders right now, because the Islanders technically are the same thing as Toronto and the fact that they're playing with house money. No one is expecting the Islanders to win the cup. No one thinks the Islanders are going to win the cup. So I think that kind of does come into a factor when it comes to playing a team like Washington, playing a team like Pittsburgh, who has had 3 of the last 4 cups. So when they're playing with house money, they have basically nothing to lose because it still is a playoff run, but they're not expected to win. So they could potentially do it because of the pressure on the other team. Given when you look at the depth of the Islanders, who do they have? Like you're looking at Matthew Barzal, you're looking at Anders Lee, Kyle Clutterbuck.
It would have to be like everything by committee. It'd have to be offense, defense by committee. Yeah. Everybody would have to be producing.
Like Casey Cizikas in double overtime is gonna.
Well, again, though, like you look at Washington. Look at Washington last year. Like look at some of the people that showed up, like Chason and Brett Connolly, and some of these people that they got, like some of these other people that they got through like trades that nobody thought anything about, and then they came in here and they got like a bunch of goals in the playoffs, or they played a big role in the playoffs. Sometimes you never know. Like sometimes those people just like show up for you, and all of a sudden it works out. You know what I mean? You get the production for that. But again, it's like
don't
winning a
that.
Stanley Cup like that, it's almost just like lightning in a bottle. Like shit just lines up sometimes.
That's where you said it, Lightning. That's my pick, man. If it's
Lightning are
Toronto,
not winning, bro. They're not like.
I
I will bet you $100 right now the Lightning do not win the cup.
I don't know. Betting $100 on it because I do think they are kind of choke artists when it comes down to it. But like,
so you just admitted they're choke artists yourself, like
they are choke artists, but that doesn't. So was Washington. But look what they did last year. They blew through everybody.
yeah, but Washington was the underdog, like.
That's also Tampa's not.
I think the last person that won the cup that also won the President's Trophy, I think was like Chicago in like 2013.
Yeah, that's the year that I was talking about. One of the years I was talking about where you knew they stepped in and you knew that
they were just so far ahead from everybody else.
Kane, Hossa, fucking Seabrook, Duncan Keith, Crawford when he was on his game, like they had it. They had the top line to go to. They had the top power play that year. Their penalty kill was one of the top 5. Like they had the team of the year on all aspects. They were one of the teams where at no point in the game were they weak. Even when they were down, like I'm pretty sure that year they were the majority of games they were down going into the third. It was a 500% 50-50 shot where they came back and won the game. Sometimes they didn't, but half the time they did. Like they were a team who you knew was the team to beat in the West, and they proved it because there was nobody that could do it. Like,
now we're just assuming that it's going to be like an Eastern team. Do you think that's fair enough? But do you think any of the Western teams really stand a chance? To me, like going through them, like Winnipeg. I mean, people have been saying like Winnipeg like is a really good team, which they are. I don't know if I see a cup contender in Winnipeg. I mean, yes, they have the goalie. Yes, they have Laine. There's something about him that just doesn't. I don't feel the conviction.
I'm a Leaf fan, but I don't hate Winnipeg. I don't hate Laine.
No, I don't hate Winnipeg. Like I like some of the players in Winnipeg. I just don't like. I don't feel the conviction. I don't feel like. I just don't feel it with them. Like I just don't have that feeling that they can win.
I would love for any Canadian team to win a cup. I don't give a fuck if the Leafs come dead last. If Montreal is the one that wins President's Trophy, fucking Domi wins the Richard and they win the Stanley Cup. I wouldn't care. I want a Canadian team to win the cup. So if it's not Toronto this year, I guarantee we'll get into Calgary in a second, but I guarantee it's not going to be Calgary. I don't give a fuck.
Dude, it's not going to be Calgary. No, dude, it's just
the
not.
Jets
it's
are
not.
the Canadian team to do it. I think they're the only Canadian team to do it.
Honestly, dude, right now in the West, Colorado is the last wild card.
Yeah.
I could see Colorado. Well, I mean, Arizona could catch them. I could see Colorado upsetting Calgary. People are gonna say I'm insane, but I could just see.
No, I completely agree with you because as much as Colorado majority of the year up until just after the deadline, they were a one-line team. I do think that one line with the bullshit that Calgary has, the penalties that come from, like, what's that? Fuck, what's his name? I'm just calling him Monahan, not Monahan. Hannafin. He's lately, because I do watch a lot of Calgary games. He's been a big penalty guy. Kachuk's always the one that's in everyone's faces, getting like instigators and roughing penalties. I think if Calgary could stay out of the box and take next to no penalties, they could take their way with Colorado. But as soon as you get McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog with a man advantage or a two-man advantage, if it happens, like that's game. Like they could bank in.
Well, and think about how good Landeskog was doing like early in the year, like when
even Rantanen,
first started.
He was top 5. I think he still might be top 5 all year round. Like he's not top 5 anymore, but up until a few weeks ago, he was top 5 in points and he didn't move. Like he was there the entire season. But
Nashville, I think Nashville's time is sort of past. I think they're middling at this point. I mean, they're not middling. Obviously, they have 94 points, but I don't like when it comes to Stanley Cup contending. I think they're just like another team in the pack. I don't think they stand out. I mean, Washington didn't stand out last year either, so you never know. But I just don't really feel it with them.
Nashville I'm sure they made more than 2, but the 2 big moves that weren't exactly huge, but did help them when it came to depth on 1 for grit, on 2 for net front presence. Jesus. And a forward who can wheel when he needs to, picking up Granlund, and the net front presence player being Simmons. I think that does make him more of a threat
than they were in the previous years. Like, they still have Benino, PK, they still have Pecorine. Like, they have a lot of big names and a lot of guys that, if worked together and they use grit and the speed they have, they could be another team that could destroy the first couple teams they play. Like, looking at it now, Nashville's in second. In the Central, they play St. Louis. I don't see St. Louis taking out Nashville. I think Nashville takes it in pretty quickly.
I don't think St. Louis is gonna. I honestly have been saying all year that San Jose is like a sleeper pick.
You say they're a sleeper pick?
Well, who is picking San Jose to win though? Like, who's picking them to win the cup?
Oh, San Jose.
Yeah, San Jose. Like, to me, they feel like kind of a, they feel like a
I don't know, man. I love Brent Burns. I would love to see that guy lift the cup, but like I don't see them doing it. They're old, man.
I don't know, man, but like you saw what, dude. Here's the thing though, like it. Yes, it's been a few years, but it's not that far removed from when they went to the finals with Pittsburgh.
It was like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, but yes, it was
Nashville.
3 seasons ago. But like, I mean, obviously, Horton's getting up there. These people are getting up there, but there was nothing special about that Ottawa team that almost went to the finals. There's nothing that special about him.
Carlson played ridiculous.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, with everything that's happened to Carlson in the past year, I could see him just like fucking carrying that team. Just like fucking carrying that team to at least a conference finals. At least a conference finals.
He's got more people to work with in that team too. He had nobody not fucking Mark Stone. Like, who, that guy is overpaid. I don't know why Vegas signed him such a long extension. He is not as good as everyone thinks he is. In my opinion, I'm not an NHL scout, but from what I've seen from him in Ottawa and Vegas now, I do not think he's worth what he's being paid and kind of what he was valued at. No, I'm talking about Stone there. I'm
yeah.
Going into the
yes, I don't really feel like I was never too sold on Stone. Like, I was more sold on Stone last year than I ever was. But I've kind of died down on Stone a little bit. I think the biggest mistake that Ottawa ever made was basically selling their soul to just upgrade from Kyle Turris to Matt Duchene. Like,
yeah, and
here's the thing: toxicity follows Matt Duchene everywhere he goes. And if toxicity follows you everywhere you go, and you're the common denominator, you're probably part of the cause.
Yeah, which I don't understand, because I completely agree with that statement. I don't even understand why I agree with it, because Duchene is one forward. He is one guy who plays 15 to 20 minutes a game every night, or 20 minutes a game every night. And he hurt Colorado for a long time. He went to Ottawa. He hurt Columbus, went all in for a lot of people to push for this playoffs that they're barely making, maybe not even going to make. And Duchene's in every single picture, but like, he's one guy playing 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more, depending if he's having a good night. Mm-hmm. But like, where does he, in proof of scenery, where does he hurt them? Like, I don't see it as a person. Like, I don't see him killing penalties and killing them, like, being out of position. I don't see him giving up guys on breakaways. He's not a defenseman. Like, where does that?
I feel like people expect too much from him, man. Like, I feel like people expect him to be more than he is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Which
Ottawa was like, there's a lot of hype for Duchene coming to the Senators, and I was like, I'm not like, I shit talked because I'm a Leaf fan, but I also thought about it, I was like I wouldn't want that guy here. Like,
well, Duchene's like a 60-70 point guy, and it feels like these teams are expecting him to be 100, like to just blow up and be like 100-point forward because he's fast. I don't think that's what Duchene is. Like people thought maybe he could be that. I don't think that's what he is, man. He's a 60-70 point guy, and you got to expect that for him. And for them to trade away Kyle Turris and whoever else, like basically selling their soul to upgrade to what's not barely an upgrade. You just went to a fucking Game 7 overtime.
Yeah.
Of a Eastern Conference final, and then you go and you almost blow your team up. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, like that year, it was 2 years ago, or was the last? No, 2 years ago. Yeah, Ottawa was the only team to take Pittsburgh to more than 6 games. Nashville in the finals took them 6. Washington in the second round took them to 6. I don't remember who they played in the first round. It was
they played Columbus, I think, and they took them to 5.
Pittsburgh took them. I think it was 5.
Yeah, I think it was like 5.
They were the only team to do it. So, in my opinion, it's not always the teams that go to the finals are the best, because two teams in the East very well could be the two best in the league, and they just end up playing each other because where they are at in conferences. But yeah, no, Ottawa, they didn't need to make too much of any moves. Like, they went to the Cup final, and 2 years later, they got no names left except for Bobby fucking Ryan. Everyone else is gone. Stone gone.
Yeah, and
Shane
Bobby
gone.
Ryan is the one guy they really needed to get rid of. Like,
because of his salary cap. Or his salary hit. That's it. They would have traded him. They wanted teams to take his fucking salary, but nobody wanted to take it. They even offered. There was a trade in talks. I was watching Trade Center about retaining half of his salary cap, and still there was no moves done. So clearly, no one even wanted to take half his salary cap, which means in their eyes he's not worth half of it, which I think is like $3 million. So he's like a $7.5 million contract hit, or cap hit. Sorry. So
now
they really fucked themselves with that.
Now, if the and we'll wrap this up soon because we're at
What did you say? We're
at 1 hour 10 minutes, so we'll wrap this up soon. But a couple other things I want to touch on. One, Tampa's goal differential is plus 100.
Yeah.
The second best is Calgary at 59.
59?
50 plus 59 differential. They're at plus. They have 100 more goals scored than they have been scored on them.
Wow.
Now, just to touch on Ottawa for a second, they're dead last right now.
5 points back from LA, I believe.
Yeah, they're dead last. LA has 65 points, but they're dead last right now. They're guaranteed, if the season was in right now, they finish in dead last. They're guaranteed the number 4 overall pick.
Number 4?
Yeah, because the top 3 is lottery. Which means Colorado, which has their pick.
Colorado has their pick for this year? Oh,
that was one of the things they traded away to get Duchesne.
Wow. That GM should be fired.
It's one of the things they traded to get Duchesne.
That GM should be fired. Oh my God.
They traded Kyle Turris and a first overall pick 2 years ahead of time, 2 years in advance.
Yeah, and Turris went to Nashville, and then the pick.
Well, they traded a pick. Their pick was, it was either last year's or this year's, so they could pick. So last year, for example, they could have either given last year's pick up to Colorado, and Colorado could have had it last year, or they could give next year pick. And because I think they had 7th overall or something last year, they took that because obviously you don't know where you're going to be next year.
Yeah.
You know, but now they're 4th overall, and it's possible they could get first.
Can you imagine Colorado getting Jack Hughes?
Getting Jack Hughes.
Can you imagine?
And if they don't get Jack Hughes, they could get the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th overall pick.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And they add that to McKinnon, Landeskog. Imagine that, dude. Jack Hughes, McKinnon, Landeskog. Bro.
That's insane, man.
If you're going to bandwagon Colorado, bandwagon to them now before they get Jack Hughes. For basically nothing. Think about this. Think about trading Kyle Turris. Or think about trading Matt Duchesne, sorry. Think about trading Matt Duchesne straight up for Jack Hughes.
That's exactly what they did. Oh my God.
Like, it's so dumb, dude. Like, oh my God.
If Colorado makes I think if they make the right moves in the off season, or maybe during the season while they're doing their little playoff push, for like maybe some more defense.
Now they need a goaltender. I think they need a goaltender. I don't think Grubauer's a starter, like a full-time starter. I
think someone who they could pick up that I think if he got more ice time and got a little vision from the league could be a starter is that I think his name's Anthony. His first name, his last name's Stolarz, the guy that's in Philadelphia. Him and Carter Hart have both looked absolutely solid.
And Philadelphia trades another fucking goaltender that turns into a starter. I swear to God, like.
Yeah, they traded. That's like even back like Brizgalov. They traded him.
They traded Brizgalov. They traded. You remember Bobrovsky? He used to be a Flyer.
Yeah, and Varlamov. Was it Varlamov?
I don't know if Varlamov. Varlamov I know was on Pittsburgh. I think he was on Pittsburgh at one point, and he was on Washington.
Yeah, it was Bobrovsky. I'm thinking of. I don't know why I said Varlamov, but yeah, like that's a lot of, and they have a lot of goalies. Just that, I don't know. Carter Hart, man, that guy's insane. Stolarz is looking okay. I think he possibly could be the answer to maybe even Colorado's questions. If it's not Colorado, being a Leaf, like, you could take Sparks. Like, have fun. We don't fucking want him. I don't like Garrett Sparks at all. I think Toronto's really bad with their depth when it comes to their
I don't know, dude. Like, what do you think of fucking Kyle Dubas, man?
I think the guy's solid. I love that guy.
You think he's solid?
I think for the first time, I thought when they said, hey, we're signing this 32-year-old guy to become, or we're hiring him to become your GM, I was kind of like when that was announced, I think I was watching like Sportsnet or something, and it came up on my screen. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, first of all, why did Lamoriello leave? He came and started that team basically from
He's
scratch.
only supposed to be there a few years anyway. Like, that was the plan.
I know, but like, he did a good job, and Dubas is the only mistake that I see. Well, it's one mistake, but technically two, is the we can and we will bullshit with signing Nylander, Marner, and Matthews. I think saying that kind of was a mistake because of the fact that you're promising something that you don't know, and it almost did backfire.
And then fucking Nylander's like, yo, why would I take a discount if you're just gonna fucking trade me? Like, what's the point of taking a hometown? What's the point of taking a quote unquote hometown discount? Which I think that's dumb. Or I always thought just touch on this. I always thought of the idea of billionaires asking for discounts from their players like absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I like that what Matt signed for because it was a discount. Like, he's worth more, but that's just because they're my team. Like, I don't like Crosby making $8 million. Still fucking stuns me. He's making just under 9
He asked for that. He asked for that though. He wanted to make 8.7.
Yeah, Malkin's making more than him. Fleury was making almost as much. I think like $1 million left.
Ovechkin was the highest paid player in the NHL for a while.
Yeah.
Until
Matthews, an update, just sniped top right corner against Ottawa to make it 2-1 with 14:58 left in the third. So my night's looking promising. Time to break out the beers. Anyways, but yeah, no, with Dubas, like, I think, he says a lot of shit, but we've been saying for years, fans, where's the defense? Where's the defense? Where's the defense? I think he should have went for Doughty or Martinez because they're right-handed. Going for them, I think.
Dude, you're insane if you think LA will ever trade Doughty. I don't like.
No, I actually do think they would have traded him this year if someone would have gave the right off. I don't think he's a total wipeout to not trading him. LA is, put it this way, you had a choice between three defensemen that LA was maybe not fully willing to give up Doughty, but he was a guy that was in talks. He's from Toronto. I watched it when I was 15. I used to go to OHL games, which is Ontario, which I'm sure everyone knows. The Guelph Storm. Doughty played for them when he was a kid. So I was like 8 or 9 going to Guelph Storm games, watching Doughty play as a kid. I have signatures from signed sticks of him signed Guelph Storm jersey. He has always been a name to watch for. He got drafted once again. I was still young, but I knew who he was, and I always kept my eye on him. He's a solid fucking guy. He's from this area, the GTA, Greater Toronto area. He wants to play for the Leafs. He grew up loving the Leafs. And he's playing for a team the way, first of all, it's a completely different atmosphere there. It's always sunny. LA gets no fucking snow. The hockey is different. They got guys like fucking Kovalchuk. You look at Toronto, we got Matthews, Marner. Tie game, Leafs just tied it. Anyways, but yeah, it's a completely different atmosphere. Like, I would love to see the guy in a Leafs jersey. And yeah, I do think LA would trade him if given the right amount. Maybe to certain teams, it's
you got to give up. You're gonna be giving up a lot for him, dude.
I think a first round, a top prospect, and a roster player is all I would do. If I was a Leaf, or if I was a GM of the Leafs, I would do like my first round draft pick. My offer would be my first round draft pick, a guy like Connor Brown, and then a top prospect like we just traded Sean Dursey away to LA, so not him, but like Rasmus Sandin. Like, he's not bad. He's a very high projected right-handed defenseman.
So like it all depends on what you're looking for as a team. If you're trying to fill in a defensive spot, you can't give up what you're trying to fill in. So you can't give up a guy like Sandin, but it comes down to asking price and what you're willing to give up and what positions and what hands and stuff. Because handedness lately is a big thing in the NHL. A lot of guys look for right-handed D-men, and it's just it depends on surplus what you have too much of. And Anaheim was a team that had a lot of right-handed D-men. But
now let's go ahead and start wrapping this up because we have been going for an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
So anything else we want to like touch on just to talk about the league, because we've actually been talking about like NHL stuff for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of a controversial conversation. But just about the league, we did cover it basically.
Well, we covered everything. Anything we want to recap? So again, game times are pretty much confirmed as 8 and 9. Draft order is out. It is a snake draft. We're considering, a few other things. A couple more updates to come. The website should be coming here soon. I'm going to go work on it actually right after we finish this podcast. We got a lot more promoting to do. Again, everybody, if you're still listening, thank you. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting more videos on this, a lot of top 10 videos. We're going to try to do podcasts like this every so often. If I can find somebody to host them. If anybody's listening that maybe wants to host these, contact me. We can maybe figure something out, because I don't necessarily want to host everyone. I mean, it's cool to be on them. It's cool to talk, but I don't necessarily want to host everyone. I think it's cooler to have a member of the community do it. And maybe if you're down, we could do like one a week or something, or just see whatever works out. Other than that, you just, keep promoting the league. Keep spreading the word to your friends. Anything else?
Yeah, keep your eyes on the Maple Leafs this season, because we're coming.
Yeah. Whatever.
We're coming.
We're
gonna get the first cup.
Talk. Dude, your pick is 15th. Even a guy in the chat said today you're not gonna win unless you get last pick.
No, I guess we'll see. If I get who I've been looking at, we'll see. Anyways, no, it's just I'm looking forward to a good season, to a good amount of teams, especially having a full NHL. It's absolutely awesome. It's great to finally be able to sit down and not have to worry about just numbers and playoff formats and stuff, just to play it out like it's regularly.
Well, it's nice that we're starting to get like a backup list of owners in case anybody was having any issues.
Yeah.
Not that any of you would have issues, but just in case, you never know. Shit happens.
It's always good to have backups. Given what the names around this league, it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be a real good competitive season. A lot of good teams, a lot of good players. This is gonna be interesting. I like to see how it plays out. Who makes the playoffs, wins the cup? Maybe Tanaka gets the Richard.
By the way, just so everybody knows, the amount of teams making the playoffs is 16. So everybody knows.
Oh yeah, well, I was hoping everyone knew that.
Someone asked that the other day, so I just wanted to say. Anyways, everybody that's still listening, thank you for tuning in to the first OVHL podcast. And just keep watching us, or like I said, website's coming, all that good stuff's coming.
Yeah. Any topics you want us to cover?
Yeah, just PM me, PM Turtle, PM whoever. Let us know. Any suggestions? Below. Again, comment below, send me messages, whatever you want to do. If you need to reach us like on a professional level, you can if you go to League OVHL, our email is League OVHL, LEAGUE OVHL@gmail.com. You can go ahead and message us. And we're going to get out of here. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.